I'm just wondering, what are critical trends that you're seeing in terms of technological advancement that's impacting central banks?
So I think that the trends are very clear, and actually it's a huge impact, the one that we are seeing in the market these days. Because if you think about the 5 main functions that the financial sector play, payments, lending, saving, asset management, or insurance, each of them are fully affected by the new technological advances that we are seeing, either related to artificial intelligence and machine learning, or to blockchain and DLT, or to mobile money. Any of the new advances that we are seeing in the market is transforming the way that we provide finance, the way that we actually provide these 5 services.
FinTech companies are sprouting everywhere across the world. Like we said, 64% increase in activity, and that's expected to surge even more. How do you regulate such activities when you may not even know of their existence or their activities?
Yeah, I think this is one of the main challenges, no? Because at the end of the day, the financial sector regulation is based on industries. There is a financial regulation for banks, another one for insurance, another one for capital markets, but there is not a regulation by activity. And fintechs are not banks, they are not insurance companies, they are not asset managers, but they can actually play this function with a completely different corporate standpoint. No? And therefore, what we need is a different regulatory approach. We need a regulatory approach that can actually be used or can be implemented to any player that is providing this type of activity. And this is the challenge that we have these days, that we don't have an international benchmark. We don't have an international standard that can actually be followed. And this is why all the regulators, central banks, but also Securities Exchange Commissions, they are trying to find out what is the best way that we can use to regulate these activities, assuming that they are not any of the incumbents or any of the players that we were used to.
No international benchmark and currently no consensus among central banks either. Where are we in this conversation, and what are the risks if there's no consensus soon?
Well, I think that there is a lot of work that is being done at the standard setting bodies context, so meaning Basel, BIS, IIS, all the different standard setters and the Financial Stability Board, trying to bring all the pieces together. But the main thing here is that when you regulate one of these industries to provide one activity, imagine crowdfunding. How do you regulate crowdfunding? Is it a regulation that should be applied to banks, should be applied to capital market players? Should it be applied to the insurance sector? So it is important to actually involve or to make this new regulation for activity applied to different industries. And this is not easy. And that's why it is needed to bring all the standard setting bodies together. No? And the role that we play at the World Bank is precisely trying to make all these international best practices known by other countries. So countries are looking at each other. They are seeing if actually the way to go is the way that China has regulated fintech, or is the way that Mexico has regulated fintech, which is completely different. And therefore, when I am in Gabon or in any African country, they say, what should I follow? Should I follow the Mexican case, or should I follow the Chinese case? Which is the best practice that I should keep in mind? No?
It's such a digital world, and there's an emergence of digital currencies as well. The Libre, Facebook's Libre, has been under a lot of scrutiny, and there's been no consensus on whether or not it should be shut down. I mean, what's the World Bank's view on that?
Well, I think that the stable coins open many important avenues, new avenues, and very important opportunities related to financial inclusion, related to cross payments and remittances, which is a big thing, a big topic. As we know, there is an objective of the Sustainable Development Goals to reduce the cost of remittances to 3%. Today is close to 7%, and stable coins can play a role here. No? But I think that we are still learning and we are still constructing. There are many things, many risks that are also associated with these stable coins that need to be thought very carefully before thinking that we are ready to use this type of new stable coins. No?
But what's your take on whether Libre is being pinned down before even letting innovation take off?
Well, it's not pin down or take off. I think that we are seeing what. So it's a great innovation, but we still need to think how we can do it better. No? How can we really ensure that we get all the opportunities that it brings, but actually without increasing the risk? And there were many questions, or there are still questions, no? That even the promoters of Libre acknowledge. No? There are some questions related that we still need to work in.
The questions are real because Libre, for instance, is designed to promote financial inclusion. I mean, to what extent do you see the digital world and the developments that we see right now being able to address financial inclusion?
Yeah, I think this is a very important question, and actually, if you may think on what is the main beneficiary of fintech, I would say that is financial inclusion and competition, probably these two factors. Why am I saying that? Because at the end of the day, fintech can provide access to those that do not have access on a much easier and better way, or can reduce the cost of doing finance for those that are already banked, but actually face many pricing constraints, let me say like that. No? If we think about fintech will provide easier access to those that are unbanked, and therefore that's why in Africa it's so important. In Sub-Saharan Africa it's amazing the evolution of fintech, and we see places or countries like Gabon that in 3 years the number of people with a mobile banking account has gone from 7% to 44%. So it's amazing the number of the population that has actually been banked thanks to these developments. No? But this is only mobile money. If you apply to any of the other factors or any of the other activities, the impact is also very, very significant. No? So the impact on access and inclusion is very important. But also in terms of competition, because at the end of the day, with fintech, what you will do is to create much more competition in the financial sector, which is very much needed in some markets, and it can reduce costs. So the important thing is to make sure that all these fintech developments does not only provide access, but also reduce the cost of doing finance, and therefore the beneficiary, the consumer, will benefit from this situation.
Speaking of digital currency, just one final question. Mark Carney, the governor of BOE, recently made a rather controversial proposal saying that perhaps we should have a digital reserve currency. What's your take on that? Does it seem viable to you?
Well, let's think that, I mean, everything has changed very, very fast. And 1 year ago, we were not talking about the stablecoins. The stablecoins didn't exist. So if thinking on this festival 1 year ago, we were talking about different things. Today, we are talking about the stablecoins. Next year, I don't know what will be the topic that we will be talking about. Maybe it's what Mark Carney says. But I think that it is very incipient. We know that we are going in that direction, that we will end up in a situation that actually this will be the new modus operandi. No? But I think that we are still in an incipient phase.